Take the ribbon from your hair, shake it loose and let it fall. I say, hold it, son! Huh? That ain't moving me! Let's put a little fire in it! Take the ribbon from your hair.
Today we're going to be talking about the origins of comedy in music, from its primitive beginnings all the way up to your favorite funny, funky people of today. So let's get into it. Of course, there's an unlimited amount of people that I could have, chose from for today's video. So many talented artists out there that are doing the Lord's work.
I don't think we're going to take a break yet, because guess what? I wore my clogging shoes.
God's business here.
Let's do it.
But I wanted to highlight a few of those artists that are sort of on my Mount Rushmore of musical comedy. And of course, those people that would be on my Mount Rushmore of comedy music is going to be guys like Ray Stevens, Weird Al, Jack Black, and of course, the Sandman himself, Mr. Adam Sandler. I mean, I gotta hand it to myself. That's a pretty good Mount Rushmore of musical comedy. I mean, these guys are the GOATs. You know what I'm saying? These guys are top-notch musical comedy geniuses. But before we can talk about those guys, it makes me wonder, like, is making music into a comedic asset just kind of instinct? Like, have you ever just listened to a song and then you just kind of make up your own funny words for the song? I do that all the time. But it leaves me wondering, like, where did this all begin? How did music in comedy get its start? So let's talk a little bit about that before we get to the comedic Mount Rushmore. Comedy in music has a long history, going all the way back to the Middle Ages, where minstrels and bards often incorporated comedy in their songs, or like with storytelling and things like that. I think the only difference with comedy in your stuff back in the Middle Ages is if you sucked at what you did, you didn't just get booed off stage.
You got your head chopped off.
I'm sure comedy kept going through the Middle Ages, up through like the Victorian era, and then we started getting technology. They started writing it down. They're like, we got to record some of these hilarious tunes, which makes me wonder, like, I wonder what some of the tunes were like back in the day, like in the medieval ages. Like, what were some of the comedy songs even about? You know what I'm saying? In the early 1900s, you had vaudeville. Oh, great heavens! Right, that was a big thing in the early 1900s, like live shows, vaudeville shows. They were comedic live performances that often featured musical, like integrated musical stuff into their acts, like the Marx Brothers and Fats Waller, who were popular for incorporating like music into their comedic styles. And then, here comes the big boom of comedy records. Now we're getting more into the era that people have the technology to record these songs, and we can now reflect on, which is what we're doing here today. So let's take a listen to some of these very early works. The first one we're going to talk about is a guy by the name of Alan Sherman.
Hello, mother. Hello, father. I am back at Camp Granada, and I'm writing you this letter just to say my compound fracture's getting better.
Hello, mother. Hello, father. Flea sticks, mosquitoes really bother.
Sherman was born in 1924 and lived all the way to 1973. He was a comedian, writer, musician, best known, of course, for his parody songs and his comedic music. His most famous work is the 1963 album My Son the Folk Singer. So that gave him a bunch of commercial success and popularity and kind of developed the niche of, like, you know, comedy in songs, which I'm sure there's a lot of other guys too. Like, I'm pretty sure the guy that did Ernest, you know Ernest, like Scared Stupid.
How about a bumper sandwich, booger lips?
I think I remember him having an album with songs for some reason. I don't know. I wanted to throw this guy in because I feel like he's like a comedy song pioneer. And we've got a couple more pioneers to go through, and then we're going to get to the Sandman, I promise. The next pioneer that I want to talk about is the man that you saw at the beginning of the video, Mr. Ray Stevens.
I want to sing and dance.
I know a lot of the audience is probably going to be like, who's this Ray Stevens guy? And if you don't know, I'm glad that you've stuck around this long to figure out who this guy is. In my opinion, he's one of the quintessential pioneers of comedy music.
I don't know what's right or wrong. Order in the court. I'll have a cheeseburger. I won't try to understand. Even it's easy for you to say.
And I'll tell you why. You know, growing up, I lived with my grandparents a lot, and they were like super conservative. And they never watched anything with any sort of cussing or anything with any sort of like invoking, you know, or revealing.
I know it's you, Margaret. Are you naked?
They just watched like grandma TV, like MASH and Andy Griffith and, you know, Bonanza, things of that nature. But they did have a lot of VHSs on a shelf, and one VHS always stood out in my mind. The Best of Ray Stevens, or the very best of Ray Stevens Volume 1, or it might even have been Volume 2. I'm not sure. Man, they would pop this VHS in, and I would go crazy over this guy. It's mainly just his faces. He makes a lot of goofy faces and just sounds. I thought he was very funny whenever I was a kid, and even going back and watching some of his stuff now, you know, I'm like, wow. Go do yourself a favor, and after this video, go to the Ray Stevens YouTube page, Ray Stevens Music, and just watch some of those music videos. I'm telling you, they're hilarious. You'll have a good time. Ray Stevens, pioneer of comedy music. And now we move on to an even weirder guy. Talking about, of course, the one and only Mr. Weird Al Yankovic.
I think the toast is done. The toast is done. Top it with a little of my bologna. Never gonna stop. Eat it up. Such a tasty snack. I always eat too much and throw up. But I'll soon be back to woo!
I think he took what these pioneers did and just added way more to it. I mean, he's playing on one of those like harps or whatever they're called, accordion. He's playing on an accordion, for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying? He's not just relying on like costumes or antics, though those were very much part of his, you know, his gimmick. You know, in the music videos, you can see him wearing many different costumes and disguises, and mainly it's parodies of already famous songs, right? So instead of making up his own funny songs, you know, he relied on parody, which I think is great, you know. I mean, parody in today's world, you kind of got to be careful because you don't want to get copyrighted or you don't want to get sued. I'm looking at you, Disney and Nintendo. This guy is like the parody king. You know, that's what he does. Whereas Alan and Ray Stevens more so just had like original songs and material that they were able to bring to life via music videos or like theater shows, things of that nature. So Weird Al definitely changed the game, you know, with the music videos, the accordion, and, you know, just parody in general. I think it's great. I think for those artists that take their songs too seriously, you know, maybe should take a look at Weird Al as inspiration, that you can kind of let loose a little bit and be a little goofy and silly. Yuck.
Let's kick it. I'll say kick it, and you'll just kick it with a tasty groove, okay? 1, 2, 3, kick it. Kick it. Come on. God damn it. God, Kyle! Could you one time kick it? What the f-
Jack Black and Kyle as an honorable mention. I can't leave Kyle out.
Kyle quit the band. Now we're back together.
Normally when you think Jack Black, you might be thinking of movies and voice acting, things like that. But in the early 90s, he did theater, and he met this guy named Kyle, and they started the best band in the world, really.
Give us one chance to rock your socks off.
I think that Tenacious D came out at the right time in history. They were really pushing the boundaries of alternative, like fight against the man, and, you know, instead of using props and funny gimmicks in their music videos, it's more so relying on Jack Black's crazy energy that he brings to the table. And I just think that this is a classic case of just elevating the art form, right? Because at this point in time, you know, this whole parody thing has been around, as we can see, for quite a while, and Jack just totally elevates that. And I myself am a huge fan of Jack Black, Tenacious D, and everything that those guys do. And this was around the time that SNL was really popular on TV. We all know who was on SNL at the time.
Lunch Ladyland. Well, I wear this net on my head 'cause my red hair is falling out. I wear these brown orthopedic shoes 'cause I got a bad case of the gout.
Adam Sandler has so many comedy hits, it's outrageous. And let's not forget the very popular movie Wedding Singer, where his whole thing is he does hilarious songs at weddings.
Oh, somebody kill me, please. Somebody kill me, please. On my knees, pretty, please, kill me.
Really, I think about the lyricism when I think of Adam Sandler's comedy songs. He tells stories in his songs just like the pioneers have done in the past, and just like Tenacious D, just like Weird Al. I definitely think Adam takes some inspiration from all of the aforementioned people that we've talked about. I mean, if you go through and you watch some of that old Saturday Night Live stuff with Lunch Ladyland, the song about his car, and, you know, the Hanukkah song. I mean, Adam's playlist of funny songs can go on forever. And I can sit here and talk to you about them forever. But I really would just like to know, what do you think about the brief history of comedy in music? Who's on your comedy Mount Rushmore? Let me know down in the comments. If you liked today's video, please consider liking the video, sharing it with your friends, and if you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to do so. Thanks for sticking around for today's video, and we'll see y'all in the next one.